Zoe here, and this is part 2 of my 3-part triple page layout. This is the layout I did yesterday in part 1, which I will link down below if you haven't seen it already. And today I am going to work on an overlay for this photo that contains another 2. I have 4 photos in the collection that I took of my children, all kind of crazy looking, but that's how my children roll. And I wanted to include all 4, but I didn't want to include a pocket page, and I didn't particularly want to do a multi-photo one layout because I feel like it, with the size of the photos, it just doesn't work. These are 6x4 photos. So I'm starting out with a piece of transparency. I think it's just overhead projector transparency. It's not very thick, and I'm using a dry wipe marker, a dry erase marker on the transparency just to outline the tree that I did on the first layout. Then I'm going to flip it over and I'm going to give myself a rough guideline so that I can... Oh, where have I gone? Oh, I've disappeared. I'm not sure where I've gone there. I think I was going to get my sewing machine. But nonetheless, I'm just going to give myself a rough outline, because I'm going to stitch this with my sewing machine, and give myself just a really rough sort of zigzag outline of the tree, just in white cotton. I'm just erasing the outline of the tree there so that I can see what I'm doing. I've used a dry erase marker just so that I can wipe it off once I have finished the stitching, which I've just done apparently, because oh gosh, if you watch my videos you know I have a devil of a time with my sewing machine. The tension that I keep refusing to fix makes sewing just a pain, but I'm stubborn and so is the machine, so we fight with each other, and so I've taken to stitching off camera so that I don't spend 3 hours stitching. Anywho, I've just stitched that in just some plain white cotton, and now I'm just pulling out some punches. I have a circular punch, a star punch, a teeny tiny Christmas tree punch, and I think maybe a smaller circle. Maybe, I think so. I'm just pulling out the scraps from the Crate Paper Snow and Cocoa collection. I'm just going to use my punches just to punch out some of the shapes from the scraps. I'm going to edit that out because it took me a little while. And who wants to watch me punch for 3 hours? Nobody. So I'm using glossy accents to stick these down, just because it's quite a good glue to use on transparency. It's a good strong glue as well. I would like to say thank you very much to the ladies who commented on my last video, pointing out the static problem. If it's on this video as well, I do apologise. I have ordered a new microphone which should be here first thing in the morning, so video number 3 shouldn't have any issues, but thank you so much for pointing that out. I make these to be watched, and if the watching is not fun, I'd really prefer to know, so do, let me know if there's things that you'd like me to change up, or if there's things you would prefer I did or that I didn't do, or whatever. I would definitely prefer to know. There is no ego involved here, and I'm never going to be offended, as long as it's, constructive. If you call me names, I will probably be a little bit offended. So I've gone back to my sticker sheet there, and I'm just laying it over yesterday's layout, just so I can make sure where I'm placing the what are going to look like ornaments look well over the layout. And in this little heart-shaped jar here I have some die-cut shapes which I actually cut from glitter paper that I made myself with embossing powders. I think I want to say this might be a W+9 die. It has like little hearts and little stars and little sequins, and I'm just using the stars and the sequins for this layout. think it's W+9. I'm sure it is. I'm almost certain it is. If it's not, I will link what it actually is down below. So I'm just adhering those exactly the same way as I did with the punched shapes, just laying them across the cotton so that they look like ornaments on the layout. So as you can see from this layout, this is why I kept yesterday's layout relatively simple. So that once the layout's on top, the transparency, is on top, it gives it a much more embellished feel without being too busy, because I embellished the underneath, if that makes sense. So I'm done, I think, for now with the paper-based embellishments on the tree. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this transparency into a 12 by 12. I think I didn't actually have any 12 by 12 acetate. Usually I do. I'm not sure why I didn't. I'm pretty sure I thought I did when I decided to make this this layout, but I'm just making it work anyway. So I'm going to pick 2 pieces of 12 by 12 scrap, and they do need to be 12 inches long, because obviously I'm going to stitch them to the side of my transparency to make my transparency 12 by 12, which I have done off camera already. So I'm just trimming that down, making sure that it is now a 12 by 12 piece, which it is, and I'm going to trim that into shape. Ta-da! And I now have a 12 by 12 transparency. I'm just trimming the excess off the top there. You can see it's looking a little glary. I do apologise for that as well. As I've mentioned before, my lighting setup isn't really working for me, so I'm changing my whole desk setup around in the new year, so that will hopefully be fixed in the videos coming in January. So I'm just adhering this bright strip to the opposite side of my transparency here, because that's going to be the third layout, the other side. So you don't want the other side to look ugly, because obviously once you open your album, you're going to have these 2 pieces opposite each other. So you don't want an ugly backside, and obviously you can't put something else behind it because it will show through. So just bear that in mind when you are adhering paper. If you do it the same way I have done, be sure to use either paper that you're happy to see on the other side, or remember to add extra paper to the back side. So I'm just picking out 2 of the photos here and just checking my placement, which I'm quite happy with. I know I'm going to lay them to cover the title of the Falala layout. Falala! The Falala layout. And I'm going to have my title for this one in between these 2 photos, so I'm just backing them onto some white cardstock for now, just to give them a nice frame, and it matches the framing of the photo on the layout that's underneath as well. Just framing both of those, matting both of those, framing, matting, ugh. So many words. As you can see, I've given up my ATG for now. That dang thing, it's causing me no end of issues. I think I might just buy a new one. I think it's not working. I don't know why, and I can't seem to fix it, so I'm just going with double-sided tape for now. I'm just trimming that down, and again, on this layout, once again, I am going to keep the embellishment around the photos relatively simple, because the layout around it is so busy that I don't feel like it needs to be any more distracting than it already is. So I'm going to pop through my embellishments here. Just check the chipboard, but I know that that won't work for this. That's the third photo that I'm going to, sorry, the 4th photo that I'm going to use. So I'm going to pull out some papers that I think might work. I know I need to back something in the centre of these 2 photos here. because I do have a gap looking through onto the layout underneath, which isn't going to work for me. So I'm going to pick this Christmas tree paper and also the sort of multicoloured stripe paper as well, and just trim those into place. It's a very sort of rough looking, not rough looking, sorry, very simple looking, oh, Freudian much, a very simple looking photo mat, nothing particularly complex here, just as I say, the layout underneath the tree is so busy, and with the grounding of the pink paper on the left side, it just does not need a whole bunch of extra papers adding in my opinion. I want the photos to be the main portion of the page. I want them to be the most visual portion of the page, and I feel like adding too much embellishment will actually distract from the photos, or detract from the photos, and I don't want that. So I'm just going to go ahead and commit to these layers now, just double checking again. I'm very tentative today, aren't I? I'm like, I'll just check it again, and I'll just check it again, mostly because once they're stuck down, if a bit of the title from underneath peeks through, it's going to ruin the whole look of the layout and what I'm going for. So I'm just being super careful, because it would entirely be just like me to end up with an A poking out that I don't want. So yeah, just committing to these stripy layers now. Popping that nicely down, again making sure that my corners don't line up. I like to make sure that none of them line up at all. And I think I'm going to add some vellum around the back of all of this as well, just to give it a little bit of distance from the pink paper that's down the left. I feel like it blends in just a teeny bit, and I'd like to just give it more of a grounding off that paper. A grounding off that paper. Oh, what do I even mean by that? I don't even know what I mean by that. I want to lift it off the pink paper, not ground it to the pink paper. I am so caught up in like 20,000 projects at the moment that I'm no longer making sense. So aren't you lucky to get to listen to me babbling that nonsensical craft-related words at you? I'm so sorry. I will try to make more sense in layout 3, really. I'll try, but you know, this is me. I'm not known for my sense. So yeah, I like that much better. It just gives it a little bit of lift off the pink. So I'm happy to go ahead and commit to sticking that onto my layout. I'm just going to make sure that my layout's lined up properly with the layout underneath before I commit to sticking it down. Because once it's down, it's down. So just lining it up nicely and going ahead with that. And now I can get rid of the layout underneath because I no longer need it. And again, I apologise for that glare. Trying to film acetate is not the easiest thing in the world at the best of times, but my lights are definitely causing me issues at the moment. If you saw my craft room tour, you'll know I have a sort of shelving that lifts up the top of my desk, and that's where the problem is lying. The shelving casts shadows across my workspace, for which I need the lighting onto my workspace, but then that causes glare against my photos, so I'm going to be getting rid of the shelving above my desk, and actually extending my desk out so I've got more space, and then my lights can move, and hopefully I won't have this issue. So I'm just calling this layout Oh So Silly, because my children are indeed oh so silly. I have very few serious photos of my children, but we are very much a family that laughs a lot. We're rarely, very, very rarely serious as a family, so this works pretty well for us. I do love those foam letters. I think they're really pretty. I'm going through the vowels though, so I don't know how much more I'm going to get from the whole set. So hopefully a few more titles yet. So I'm just going through the sticker sheet, and I know I'm going to add the yellow word sticker up the top to add a bit of yellow in. My eldest son is wearing a yellow tie, and I also have yellow on the stitched tree. So that just brings some more yellow into the layout. I'm going to go ahead and add some of the phrase stickers. I think I add... Ooh, I think So Glad to Be Together, Merriment This Way, I think is what I use. And I think that pink one I've just popped in, it says Love, maybe? I hope so, I don't know. I think that's what it says anyway. So I'm just thinking about how I want to embellish, if I want to add anything else onto this layout. I'm going to just pop a little label sticker under there and use my roller stamp. I think this is a Maggie Holmes Shine roller stamp. I think I stamp You Make Me Happy, and again I'm using StazOn ink because the label is slick, and it's just my preferred ink to use on slick surfaces. So I'm just going through the ephemera now, trying to decide if there's anything I want to use, and I actually do not use any of the ephemera. But you know, I'm going to have a check through anyway. Actually struggling a wee bit with the ephemera because a lot of it's so snow based, and we just don't get snow here very often, so yeah, I'm struggling a wee bit with that. So I'm using some Christmas trees that I cut from one of the other papers. I fussy cut them from one of the other papers. I think they'll make a nice little embellishment cluster. So I'm peeling up the phrase sticker that I'd already added, just so that I can have it sit across the trees instead, rather than have the trees over it. I'm just popping it back down again. And I'm going to add a few of the... No, I don't add the puffy stickers to this one. Do I not? No. I'm going to add some enamel dots instead, I think. Am I? Yes. After I've had another look at the sticker sheet, pop in a circle up at the top there. Trying to see if I want to use that little star, and I do. And then I'm going to grab some enamel dots from my stash, and I think I actually end up using the Crate Paper Wonder collection enamel dots, because the sequins and the colours actually work very, very well for this collection as well. So did this collection have enamel dots? I don't actually know if it did. If it did, I certainly didn't buy them. I'm just popping a few of the sequins onto the tree just to add a little bit of shine and interest. That's a lovely dimension as well, which is nice. I have stuck them directly to the layout, but I am going to go back and glue them in once I've finished filming, just because I don't trust the adhesive on the back of them, so I'm going to use glossy accents to make sure they stick down. The other thing to bear in mind when you're sticking things to the tree, if you actually end up scrap lifting this layout is whatever you stick on the front side, you're going to have to cover on the back side as well. So just bear that in mind. Just having another look through my enamel dots. Puffy stickers. I really wanted to use a puffy sticker. I was thinking about maybe using the poolside. Oh, it's called poolside collection. I don't know. The sequins anyway. But I don't use those. I do just end up going back to the Wonder collection. Enamel dots and sequins, and just popping a few of those on as well. And I don't know that I add too much more to this. I think it might just about be time to add a few ink splatters with Heidi Swap Colour Shine. I just use the gold on this one just to add that sense of flow between the two layers. Obviously yesterday's had some colour shine on it, so I'm going to add some to this one too. I'm going to be sure to cover the acetate because it won't dry on acetate. So I'm just making sure to cover that up and just adding a few little splatters in the corners. Keeping it relatively simple. I don't want to add too many. And, oops, I'm going to add quite a big one there, which I'm going to soak up in a second. Because, you know, you've got to add a massive one somewhere, haven't you? And I think that's about it for this layout. I'll be back tomorrow with part 3. Oh, I'm just going to pop some paper underneath the stitching so you can see it because it's hard to see. Yeah, I'll be back tomorrow with part 3 and you'll see all 3 how they work together. And thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up if you like this layout, and don't forget to subscribe if you don't already, because I truly appreciate each and every one of you for watching. Oh, of course, it helps if I show you the finished piece on top of the other piece, doesn't it? Duh! But I'll show you some photos at the end anyway. But thanks ever so much for watching. I'll link number 1 down below in case you haven't seen it, and I'll be back tomorrow with number 3.